jump to the...
Oh, yeah.
Man, we just want to be free. We want to be free to ride our machines. We just want to be left alone. We want to party. We don't stay inside because of rain. We don't stay at home because it's cold. We don't even like to park our bikes. We ride. This is our biker's lifestyle.
And we're back.
And we're back. Bikers Life Podcast. I am whoever the you want me to be. What's up with you?
I'm glad I'm not a stepfather.
Your what hurts? I don't know what he.
I don't know.
Something hurts.
Nutsack.
So
we went off the deep end now.
So all
So
right.
let's get back into this.
So we're circling the drain here. So let's not flush all the way down. I'm gonna be that stubborn turd. So here's what I was gonna say.
Hey, shut up.
Anyways, so where we left off.
And there she is.
Yep.
Well, we're sitting here with Mr. Blair Dell. I'm going to read what Andy Stump put down on his podcast about you because he is a way better author than I am. So Blair Dell has over 2 decades of experience in special operations medicine as a member of the Marine Reconnaissance and Marine Special Operations Command through 4 combat tours, Iraq, Afghanistan. He's taught blah, blah, blah. He's a fucking badass. But we're here to talk to him because he wants to help bikers save other bikers. And so I'm not going to step on his dick. Mr. Blair Dell, how do you want to help bikers save other bikers?
You know, honestly, I'm one, thanks for having me on, and 2, I don't see me helping or saving anybody. I'll put it the same way I tell in a lot of my classes is quarter century doing this, I've never saved anybody. I just had a couple tools and a couple techniques and a calm mind and help them save themselves. The big takeaway is, I mean, bikers are some of the most self-reliant people on earth. And we go to we ride out, strap our asses to 2 wheels and a lot more horsepower than we have sense half the time. And we don't give a fuck and head out and do it. Well, that's awesome. If we're that self-reliant, why aren't we putting a couple moments of time into saying the and but or what have you? So on the biker side, this is me guiltily linking my 2 passions as far as what I do for a living, preparing people for their worst days ever, and my love of riding. When I got out and after my father passed and handed me down his big old Yamaha Stratoliner, and that just became a part of who I was.
Little?
Yeah,
Stratoliners aren't little. That's like 2,300 cc's, man. Like, damn.
Yeah, tell me about it. That was my first real street bike.
Holy crap! Now you went right into friggin' high gear, man.
Yeah. So,
wow.
But it really that's my zen. That's what gives me that wind therapy. I don't have to tell you guys that, but anybody watching your show, I'm sure understands that as well. I felt indebted to it and wanted to see how I could link that passion and try to give back. Started bouncing my head around doing the same way I would doing a target package in Afghanistan or doing a market analysis in my new job. And I realized nobody was really looking out for riders. Now, there were people trying to sell you shit, and it's exactly what they were trying to sell you was shit. Let's slap $5 worth of medical gear, put it in burnt orange, and sell it to you for 50. And that's what was getting out there for med kits. And tell me I'm wrong.
No,
Well, that's
not. You're not.
well, that's why I sort of so you were on Cleared Hot, Andy Stump's podcast, and I listen to Andy Stump every week, every Monday. Shout out Andy Stump, Cleared Hot.
Absolutely.
We know he's watching. But the thing of it is that for the brief 20 seconds you guys touched on it, I learned more than I have in every first aid class that I've ever taken for like work or whatever. Like I had no idea about, even if it's not cold outside, you got to keep somebody warm if they're hurt. Because if they're leaking hydraulic fluid, their body temperature is dropping and they're going to be in a danger zone. And coming from my personal experience and riding motorcycles and crashing, you never crash conveniently. You always crash in the middle of nowhere where help is 30 minutes away. You got a whole bunch of knuckleheads that have never, had to do triage on anybody. And we're all running around panicking with our hair on fire. So I think what you're trying to do and trying to give education to bikers to maybe help save, their club brother or their friend or their wives or whatever is pretty beautiful. And I think that's what we're here to talk about today.
Well, I appreciate it. I'll throw another log on the fire of that scenario you just painted, because riding out through the Badlands, it definitely got me thinking about it. Is, starting out as a volunteer firefighter is where I did back in sometime in the last century. We'll just leave it there. And as much as everybody as a volunteer firefighter is absolutely doing it for the right reasons, has the best of intentions, it's a volunteer agency. They don't have all the best tools. They're not sent to all the best trainings and stuff. It's what you do in those critical first few minutes that matter. And then if you're thinking when help arrives, you're just hands off. Well, in 4 hours, I can hopefully get you to a point where you're an asset to that first responder that's coming to you. That's why we call the course Motorcycle First Responder Awareness, because you're the real first responder.
What course are you talking about?
It's the course we developed.
And what's the name of it?
That's it, Motorcycle First Responder Awareness.
Well, what's the name of the company?
Oh, BMK Ventures. Yeah, we'll throw all that stuff out there. BMK Ventures is the company I work with primarily on all of it. They were started more for large federal procurement, and they brought on some broken old gunfighter, and then he starts dragging them towards law enforcement, first responder, and now motorcycle groups. And I think they're still scratching their heads, but it's working. And,
hey.
If nothing else, we're doing the right thing for the right reasons. Honestly, while it's a guilty pleasure, I'm getting paid to go hang out with fellow bikers and talk about medicine. That's a hard thing to turn down. I'm really wanting to get this to where it satellites out and folks are more able to make this a revolving thing, because it's a perishable skill. Like you said, you've been to some first aid courses, and awesome. Mm-hmm. Well, then how often are we keeping up on it? How often do we keep up on the new changes and stuff? Because the medicine I learned 25 years ago is drastically different than what I know as a norm now.
Well, you just look at it used to be, pump the chest and then, breathe down into their mouth and everything. But now they found it's just about keeping the blood circulating to the body. And so just pump the chest and pump the chest. So you're right. You're very right. And they've gone back and forth on that. So
I've always had a personal feeling that most of CPR courses are changed so often because they have to justify their conferences in Vegas. You got to change something. You're spending that much money on a conference, but that's just a personal feeling. At the end of the day, especially in CPR, something is better than nothing. I will say, though, in response to a motorcycle crash specifically, sometimes something can be worse than nothing if you're doing the wrong thing. Now, at the bottom line, though, is it's not rocket science. This is some really simple stuff.
ABCs, right?
Actually, no. We used a totally different algorithm.
Okay.
And it comes from what we learned over the hard way, lessons written in my brother's blood in Afghanistan and Iraq. We use the March algorithm that the military uses, but there's also the CARE algorithm with first care and a few other things. Either way, it's controlling the massive hemorrhage if it's there first. Because it doesn't matter if you have a great airway, breathing, or, from ABCs. Mm-hmm. If all your blood's sitting next to you,
that's a problem.
Under you, you could have the greatest airway in the world, but you ain't got the red blood cells to move it around.
Want to elaborate a little more on what March is, then?
Yeah, so that's nothing that I created. That's comes from the T-TRIC, or the methodology in the military. That's your massive hemorrhage, airway, respirations, circulation, and I also kind of lump that into catch-all as well. So that's where you're checking your burns and things like that. And there's actually two H's, and one is head injuries, as we were alluding to earlier, and then hypothermia. Now, it doesn't mean you have to do it necessarily in that order, but you got to make sure you tap all of them, with March, with M being the first one, and definitely get after that. I tend to, when people ask me, Blair, you're so big about hypothermia, as he alluded on Andy's cast, I was big about that. I'm big on it, and I don't believe it should be the last H in the whole algorithm. What I usually tell people, kind of in the scenario that was painted earlier, the first person coming up with their hair on fire saying, what can I do to help?
Yeah.
A pair of trauma shears, make them naked, cover them up in a blanket. Because trauma is a co-ed naked team sport.
Yeah.
So if a guy was trying to build a real first aid kit, not just a boo-boo kit, but like a real first aid kit to help somebody if shit went down, besides a space blanket, what else do you think, like, the average guy who just rides, say, around his area should have in his bike?
Well, see, now you nailed right on one of the things I really wanted to hit on there. Is we have a lot of misnomers about the guy that's doing a bar buster bike versus a cross country bike. When you really break down the statistics, they have the same risk.
Yeah.
In fact, if nothing else, the guy riding around his neighborhood who gets a little more,
he's drunk.
yeah, well, there's that. But there's also the fact that he's complacent. He knows this road, he's rode it 1,000 times, and he's bebopping away and not thinking about it. Whereas you go on a good stretch of the freaking, 40, 20, 10, 90, wherever, cross country, you're keeping your wits about you, because you don't know what goddamn elk's going to jump out in front of you.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing I want to really get through to folks on this podcast is, while those first aid courses are amazing and I endorse them 100%, having something by bikers for bikers is really important, because the way I like to package this and get people thinking about it is more from the perspective of what a biker sees before, during, and after an event. So to answer your question directly, I'd love you to just recall me and I'll build the kit for you. And obviously, I'd be a moron not to say that, but
that's where this is going to end up anyways. But yeah, go ahead.
But bottom line, I'd say having a tourniquet, a windlass tourniquet. I'm a big proponent of the SWAT T. I know if people argue with me on that. It's one product that has a pressure dressing and a tourniquet to it. But it also works on kids and dogs, and I like dogs better than most people. You absolutely, especially for riders, you need a hemostatic dressing. And I recommend Quick Clot combat gauze from Z Medica. Best one out there. It's totally different for those that were started up through the generations. It's not the stuff we had early on in the war that burned.
Sulfa drugs, yeah.
It's not the stuff that used to cauterize the wound. It's actually mineral-based kaolin that jumpstarts the clotting cascade. So you literally buy time. If I were to use Tank's shirt to fix a femoral bleed on you, it would take a minimum of 12 to 18 minutes probably, if I was doing everything right with that cotton shirt, to try to shut it down. Whereas if I use combat gauze, it'll be shut down in 3 minutes.
Wow. So the movies have lied to me. You can't just rip the sleeve off your shirt and tie it really tight and help is on the way. You'll be fine.
Actually, it's funny is what you're getting at there is a kind of relatively new thing we've been fighting on, is getting people away from belts and using sleeves and pant legs.
Really?
For tourniquets.
Wow.
Yeah, it chapped my ass. I wanted so badly to prove John Wayne right, but John Wayne lied. When he pulled that leather belt off and fixed that arrow wound in old John Boy, leather belts in general just don't work. They're too narrow. I mean, it's one of those situations where it'll slow it, but it won't actually stop it. Whereas pant legs and shirt sleeves are wide enough and constrict to actually get you some real improv. But why improv? That's why I always people say, I'll figure it out. I'll improv it on your worst day ever, after you just averted the same wreck that your buddy just did down with. and you're watching your brother freaking bleed out, yeah, that's the time you're going to do critical thinking.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Like you're in shock at this point in time, just watching it happen.
So what's $25 to have a commercially made tool? I mean, in the beginning of my career, we didn't have commercial made tourniquets. We didn't have those till 2002. And now once we got them, we're just like, oh, thank God, because typically, we had tourniquets in the military. It's on Friday afternoon, all the medics would get together after we sent all the boys, after the boys were home, put a bottle of Jack Daniels between us, and it was a craft store. It was a bunch of cravats, brass rings from Michaels, and wooden dowels. And you just really hoped that if you were going to get the tourniquet that from one of these made that night, you didn't get the one at the bottom of the bottle. We were prefabricating, making our own with duct tape and everything else.
Well, I kind of glossed over your military career there for a second, and mainly because we're not a military podcast, and me and Tank we never served. I mean, obviously we appreciate everybody who did, but
Sure.
A lot of our fans, we don't want to, we kind of like to keep things biker related, and a guy like you who you served, and honestly, I mean, we could spend 2 hours talking about everything you did in the service. I mean, you're a genuine badass. You're an American hero. I know you're going to say you're not, but you are. Me and Tank feel it. But so what is some of your experience in the military? Where's your expertise come from, I guess? So that way, all the trolls on YouTube, when they make their bullshit comments, this is the argument, right? Yeah, and they will.
I'm sure they know. Yeah.
Yep. So what is your background?
So I started out, like I mentioned earlier, I was a volunteer firefighter in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Ran away, joined the circus, i.e. the U.S. Navy,
Mm-hmm.
and became a corpsman there. And spent all my career with the Marines. The Marines don't have their own medics, so they snatch us over. And then I forgot what Navy actually stands for. Never again volunteer yourself. And I volunteered to go over to Marine Reconnaissance, and that's a 2-year pipeline to get you qualified into the special operations world. Some of the most amazing training you could ask for. Square kick in the nuts every day for 2 years, but definitely was. What's that?
Wonderful.
But honestly, I'd never turn it down, because it definitely prepared me well for what I went into later. After the course, went into my first duty station with that career. I'd been a grunt medic before that, and then went to Fallujah, Iraq. I was there for the first offensive in 2004. Did another tour, so 04, 05, and 06. I spent time in the Al-Anbar province, Iraq. Let's call that hands-on training. And had some interesting days, and crazy nights there. Then went back to our advanced course, which made me an independent provider. I could actually work independent of a doctor or a PA. And went over to Navy dive school, taught there for a while. And did dive medicine, taught Marine combat and dive, and then went over to, at that time, a relatively new entity called MARSOC, Marine Special Operations Command. They were stood up in 06, 07. I got the opportunity and blessing to jump in with them in 2010, and did a couple tours over to Afghanistan with them. And just an amazing group of pipe hitters. Worked mostly in the Helmand Valley of Afghanistan. And honestly, just a lot of amazing opportunities to see the very best and the very worst of humanity. Definitely, for those that everybody always asks the difference, I definitely liked Afghanistan way more than I liked Iraq. I could actually respect my enemy there a little bit. And the mission allowed me to get to meet and live and work with the locals more in Afghanistan. But as you said, man, a lot of people want to learn more about that stuff. Andy and I went into that a lot. I'd highly recommend to go over to his podcast. I'm all about this next chapter of my life.
Right on
2 wheels, working with guys like you to see how we can get word out to folks about some stuff that I feel pretty strongly about.
Do you do anything in conjunction, like with the Road Guardians? I know with AVA to Wisconsin here, there's the Road Guardians, and they do a little bit of they smart man right there. They do some training for like first aid and stuff.
That's awesome. No, I'm not familiar with them. I'll have to reach out to them. That's awesome. Because when I was doing a lot of my research stuff, I wasn't seeing, at least at the commercial level, when I refer to industry is what I jumped into. I got banged up pretty good in 2012 and knew I couldn't give enough to the teams and stepped out, decided to retire. Series of misadventures I won't bore you with, but finally I was like, was there anywhere for broken old gunfighters to go? And turned out that I was kind of a good fit for the industry. And when I mean that, I mean direct support to the military first responder community, not just in medical, but also in innovation and communications, weapons, everything you think from insert platforms and just basic logistics. So I kind of got into that world. I'm trying to, 5 years later, I'm still kind of trying to find my proper niche. I think I'm finding it. But at the end of the day, I was inside that world looking at the biker community and saying, well, why haven't we been doing more about this? Why aren't we taking all these amazing lessons learned from overseas, especially with many vet riders as there are out there?
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing that I know I'm going to get trolled for, and I'm okay with it because I want people to prove me wrong.
Fight them in the comments, people.
There you go.
And there's one motto that I live by, and that's no ego, all in.
Yep.
That's the motto of my company that I started. And typically every time I've had a conversation with an EMT who's with a road crew, or something, I won't say MC because it's not like something like your guys' club, but some sort of local club or anything like that. There's almost always some EMT or prior Army medic or Navy corpsman who now rides. Awesome, more power to you. But why aren't you engaging that more in the club?
Mm-hmm.
Don't stop trying to be the Billy Badass, whatever you think you might be, and with a good chunk of humility in your throat, come forth and say, guys, it matters to me whether you make it home tonight. Or if I go down, how are your asses fixing me? Because my wife will kick your ass if you don't freaking do something.
Yeah.
One of our members is a paramedic.
Awesome.
And he's had to do it a couple of different times.
Well, and that's one of the big things that we learned overseas. The biggest reason that you've seen all these crazy statistics about how low the death count in Afghanistan and Iraq has been. Well, then go look at how many injured. They're actually living and making it. And the key was not the medics. It was not us. It was the insane amount of resources and time we put into pushing that basic medical knowledge to every person going outside the wire. The requirement that every person out there had to have that knowledge. At least enough to stabilize until a medic could get there.
I just got chills, man. I mean, we want to help you as much as you can, because I for one, I'm down with this. I mean, this is a good cause. This is a good reason. This is the reason for riding right here to keep it all going.
If it's really the brotherhood we believe in, then why aren't we talking about things that are uncomfortable to talk about?
Well, and that's why, I sort of wanted to bring you on, since when I heard your podcast and everything with Andy Stumpf and Cleared Hot, shout out to Andy Stumpf, Cleared Hot. All I could think of is, holy shit, how come I never thought of it? I'm the guy that has a whole saddlebag full of tools to fix any mechanical problem that a bike should have. Yeah, and I have. And I have a whole kit prepared so I can fix damn near anything on the side of the road. Yet, if I got a club brother that crashes his bike and needs some sort of medical attention, I've got like 2 Band-Aids and like string. You know what I mean? I'm fucked because I don't know what to do with it anyways. Yeah. So when you talk about your company, what goals are you trying to reach when it comes to helping fellow riders out there?
Well, I'll tell you the first one, and this surprises everybody, is I don't want to sell kits to anybody I haven't taught. When I first started putting this together, everybody's like, well, just put your kits online. We'll buy them. I was like, I don't want you to buy my kits unless you know how to use the stuff in them.
Yeah.
Because I spent 2 years researching and developing this course. I know that doesn't sound like a lot of time in the big scheme of things, but I didn't want to bring something to folks until I felt really confident in it. So I tried multiple different kits out, tried them in my saddlebags, tried them in buddies' rides. I researched extensively through Department of Transportation, DHS, even the CDC has stuff on riders, accident statistics, everything else. Talked to a lot of paramedic brothers that have, scraped a lot of riders off the road. And I poured it all through the same concept that we did in developing the modern generation of tactical medicine in combat. It's not about saving every life. If you think you'll save every life, you're arrogant.
Right.
And arrogance kills. But looking at it from a perspective of survivable injuries, what can we save? And then the numbers become something we can work with. I mean, honestly, the guy with the crotch rocket ripping down the PCH and clips his helmet right off, chops his helmet right off from a barrier. Nobody's doing that. Hand of God comes down, ain't gonna fix that guy.
Yeah.
Now, why would we put the time in the class on that? Let's talk about the things that are unique to riders, like the exorbitant amount of lower leg injuries that result in femoral fractures that is higher than the rest of the population. And yet there's only one tool that can fix that in the immediate time and really gives you survivability. And it's not sold generally in the public right now because people think people are too stupid to use it. And it's actually pretty simple. It's called a traction device.
Now, your train, you said, you want to be able to train them on how to use a kit. Talk us, how long does a training session go?
Typically 4 hours, and that's with booze at the end and questions.
Nice.
I don't drink, but that's kind of a cool thing, man.
Yeah, I mean, I want to make it a clubhouse friendly type thing. In fact, my goal, if I have my long-term goal to answer your question earlier, I don't want to be the one teaching this. I actually envision, and this is where I'd love to have some feedback in your comments from folks. I recognize I only have so many days left on this planet, and I would much rather be training other people to train it. That's where you get the real ripple effect that could have a real difference in people's lives. And it doesn't matter if they remember I was involved with it. Screw that. It's whether that message gets out there. What I picture is a lot of clubs, big, small, indifferent, what have you, not necessarily even as big as your guys's, but I'm talking even your local vet rider club, what have you, who need to want to put a little bit of money in the coffers, but also improve their community relation, maybe break that stereotype of the dirty biker. And they're teaching this. I come out, train them up. Great if they have a paramedic to lead it, but you don't have to be a paramedic to teach this stuff. Give me a day or two and I'll have every one of you out there feeling confident putting this information out because it's really freaking simple.
That's what we need to. Now, have you reached out to any of the ABATEs of this world, the motorcycle rights organizations that are so closely, and they're really into the statistics on motorcycle crashes and things of that nature? You think these would go hand in hand?
You think, yeah. And one of my true hopes, why I was so excited when you guys reached out to me, was I figured I would get to learn know a lot better what I didn't know. You guys could help plug me into a lot of pieces like I've seen on some of your other podcasts where just big dots connected that people didn't even realize existed. So I was excited to learn from you guys on this as well.
Well, yeah, I know, right? Well, the thing of it is that bikers are always the most rogue members of society, but yet somehow we're all connected under some big umbrella, some way, shape, or form. So you got things like ABATE, you got COCs, coalitions of clubs that are all over the country. There's national ones, there's local ones, there's everything in between. Like we're also doing podcasts with other, I guess, creators, whether it's just they're on YouTube or wherever. So, I mean, to get a guy like you out there that says, hey, I want to help, I want people to be safe, I want to help people help other people, and just to get you into that ether is what this podcast that we're doing right here is all about. So
I sure appreciate it because I think we can make some real difference at the ground level, because the worst thing I can picture is a brother or sister rider freaking face up on the road wondering, hey, is somebody going to help me? When it should be a question, it should be nothing more than, of course, somebody's going to be there because they're right there with me. If you go to our webpage where we talk about the M1RA, they actually have a testimonial from one of my students, and this gal was just amazing. She shows up to my course and she's all bandaged up in a cast, black eyes, neck brace, everything else. She had been in a horrible wreck just 2 weeks before. She had already signed up for my course and got out of the hospital like just a couple days before the course. and told to stay home and recover. She said, no, the dude I was riding with understood first aid, and he's the only reason I'm alive right now. She freaking beelined a pillar. The pillar fell on top of her. The tire was rubbing right into her chest. I mean, basically one of those wrecks that you shouldn't be able to walk away from. And she hobbled into my training, and she's like, I need to learn to do the same so I can pay it forward. And tell me if that didn't just remind me, if I needed it, why the hell I was doing it. You know what I mean? Her testimonial just spoke to the whole thing.
And all of this will be down in the description below. All links below, everything, and to get a hold of Blair and to sign up to figure out how he can help you help other people. So I guess really my question right now would be, where do you hope this goes? Where do you want to see it in, say, 5 years?
5 years, what I would love is basically as many clubs and groups out there that were interested in moving this forward I'm basically coordinating it. I'm facilitating at that point. Maybe getting invited along to go on some rides out to another train with them. You know what I mean? At some point, I just want to be able to facilitate and let this thing take on a life of its own. The only thing I'm hoping is that at least in the beginning portions of it, people stay connected with me, not because I need ownership of it, because there are a lot of brilliant guys. I'm sure, like the paramedic in your club, brilliant guy could sit down and teach medicine tomorrow.
Sure.
But why reinvent the wheel if I've already put the years of time and research into making this tailored for bikers?
Right on.
And I've already done multiple classes and figured out what didn't work. I'm really good at messing up and breaking things and then learning from it. So
That's the best way.
why go through those same ass pain? And when I all but want to give it to you. I just work with me so we can have a consistent message going out there in the community. That way, if you're out riding solo, the club that comes down the other way sees you spilt out, they're getting the same message, the same type of level of training, focused. That's the only thing I'm looking for, is that at some point this thing grows way beyond me, and I hope to be riding in 5 years, and somewhere I've never planned to be. Typically on a good ride, I just pick a cardinal direction and wonder what state I'll end up in. And so I'm in some state I didn't plan on, and I'm at a bar talking to a guy, and he's like, hey, have you heard about this M1RA thing? And I'm like, brother, tell me all you heard about it. I want you tell me all about it.
Well, you were in Sturgis this past year, right? Teaching?
Well, this last year was a little bit of teaching, but also feeling out the grounds, whether it's worth it for large events like Sturgis for me to come set up shop. Okay. Not because I don't think the message is good, but I also recognize if you save up all year to go to a big rally, you want to ride, or you should.
Well, yeah.
If 4 hours out of a part of your trip is too much, I just need to know that ahead of time so I don't invest into coming there. And that's something I could really use in the comments too, is if people thought it would be worth 4 hours of their time and maybe roughly $50 entry at ballpark, to do a 4-hour course with me, I'm there. But I got to know that the juice is worth the squeeze ahead of time, and the people are interested. When I talk to people one-on-one, they're like, oh yeah, I'd be there. But I know damn good and well when I'm out on a good ride, and that's those scales change. And I want to make sure that people are that I'm not seeing something from the wrong foxhole in my eyes. So if people think that would be something good at big rallies, that they would break off 4 hours of their time to go do that, oh, let's do this shit.
Yeah.
But if that's not what reality is, then I have to adjust to what that reality is.
Well, I'm sorry. Let me just along with what you were just saying, Blair. I mean, I think of basic sales. In terms of sales, they always say, well, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. It's not your job to make the horse drink. It's your job to make him thirsty. And if you can make people thirsty for wanting to learn this ahead of time before they go to Sturgis, like build it up so that they like, I want to take 4 hours out of my day and learn this.
That extra day, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would love to hear back from some of your viewers if they think that would be something that would be interesting to them. Because yeah, this last Sturgis was part of an 8,000-mile trip for me. Fortunately, mostly with work. And I was able to meet a lot of great people there. I did Sturgis the year before my first one. Fell in love with the Badlands. Talk about a great rides down there.
That's beautiful through there.
Yeah, but what I also loved was just the absolute checked ego. I mean, talk about I went in there not knowing what I didn't know. Maybe armed for bear because I was a little realized, man, I hadn't felt safer than in a group where, politeness mattered like that, where, respect was shown. I was truly impressed with that. I knew it from working all the rallies when I used to work security down in Panama City Beach. But I tell you what, it was cool to be on the other side of it as a rider and just feeling that attitude of respect to every person there on two wheels.
Right on. How do you like that dark horse, by the way?
Oh, I love it. I mean, I know that there's going to be the Harley Indian thing, and it is what it is. But at the end of the day, that bike has changed my life.
Have you had any problems with it?
Not one.
Nice.
And the one that was, I'll be honest, I can probably open your chest up and fix anything I need to and put it back together, but the bikes, I'm still learning. So the idea that Indian had that great service package for it was a real big win for me as well.
I mean, in our little world, it's, a lot of guys ride Harley Davidsons, but I'm gonna be honest with you, we're all starting to notice that Indians bringing their A game. And I never hear about anybody having problems. I never hear about somebody breaking down on the side of the road. I hate to say it, but maybe Indians are pretty good.
Yeah. That was the one thing the guy that turned me on to him said. He's like, I'm not a good enough mechanic to ride a Harley. But at the end,
yeah.
I own a Harley, and here in Florida, I've got a Victory.
Yeah, and you nailed it on the head there with Victory. That was what Polaris did so amazing, was worked out all the bugs with Victory, made some kick-ass bikes, and then brought in the heritage and everything else on the Indian side there.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't gonna say that they don't have their own, corporate issues and everything else, just like everybody else.
Sure.
Man, I tell you what, I love that dark horse just for the fact that all the stuff I would have, if I'd have gotten a Harley and wanted to, murder it out afterwards, came stock and roughly the same price or a little less. So
I hear they handle really, really well, like especially in the turns. You can really flop them around and like kind of nimble feel to it.
I've gotten away with some shit I shouldn't have gotten away with. And I totally credit the bike, not my skills.
Well, muscle memory pays off, man, especially in motorcycling.
I guess, that's one of the things that I've really enjoyed too, is I've taught at the Indian dealerships, the Harley dealerships, everybody coming together, and that same thing, like you guys said in many of your podcasts, is that, we're all on two wheels, freaking enjoying the win, man. Freaking who gives a shit?
Oh yeah.
The only people we give a little shit to are the gold wingers, but
yeah,
that's kind of a running joke with us.
That is riding the lazy boy. Yeah,
and you've met those guys. They're a little out there anyway, So
the wing dingers.
I can't get my head around the adventure bikes where it's like not the best of either world, but a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I rode a couple of them and I'm trying to get my head around it. I just don't know if I want to put the money into it. It might be
dirt bikes are, going off road's a young man's game. I'm 59. I don't need to be fucking doing something like that. Jesus.
Well, to be honest with you, and it's kind of funny that you brought that up, because I've, like I said, I listened to Cleared Hot, Andy Stump, and he's getting into the whole adventure bike thing. And I'm going to be honest with you, before, this podcast, before Andy Stump talked about it, I thought about it just because it's sort of like a change of pace. I mean, you can only pound so many miles on the highway before you're like, hey, I wonder what's over there in that grassy field. And you think, well, maybe I'm going to get an adventure bike and go take my ride to the Arctic Circle where, every gas station's 500 to 600 miles in between. But
on that same podcast, the guy I was there with, Nelson Grant, he's the one getting Andy into that.
Yeah.
Nelson's hopefully starting up his own business here soon to get people into that piece. And he's a great rider, great medic, just a great dude all around. And he's always on Andy's podcast. and he gets it. It's not so much about being dirt or road, it's about just the adventure of it, and he's got a real mind for where that can go. I'm excited to see where he takes it, so I'll try to get you guys the info for his stuff too.
Right
Oh,
on,
I mean,
man.
absolutely. I mean, because the thing of it is that that's just a whole world I've never tapped into of motorcycle riding. I mean, I've dirt bike rode, where it's basically just fucking around in a field. But as far as actually having a destination going from A to B, and it's a huge distance, I've never experienced it. And I would, it kind of turns me on, because it's like, man, that's really roughing it. That's kind of cowboy type stuff. And I mean, to be quite honest,
workout though.
well, yeah, but if it was cool, if it was easy, everybody do it. But I mean, that's where, of course, like what you've been talking about would really come in handy, because it's not like you're just going to whip out your cell phone and call 911 and they're going to be there in 5 minutes if shit goes sideways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Actually, Nelson and I are already talking about is trying to see how we can develop that into something more for the backwoods. So like a course I would teach to a rider group in Montana is going to be a lot different than a group I teach in Florida.
Sure.
You know what I mean? That's why when you ask about what kit a rider needs, I'm going to ask, okay, what type of rider you are, what bike are you riding, what's your usual ride? I mean, are you doing 1 to 2 big rides a year, or is every time you turn that bike on, you're putting 500 miles on?
Mm-hmm.
Those all matter into what kit you put on. It's like asking a guy in the military what body armor, loadout you have. Well, what's your damn mission? And I think it all matters. And then the other key point there too is, and I really dive into this in the class, is it's not just about the bones sticking out of your body. I'm all about, and this is what makes it more from bikers for bikers. How do we keep epic rides from getting jacked up by a pipe burn or a bug in the eye or a headache, or, because this never happens on long rides, a hangover or something else, you know what I mean? I mean, if we had a few handful of things in our saddlebags dedicated to that, maybe a bee sting, or sunburns, because that never happens. If we had just a small little, didn't take up much room in the saddlebag and could handle all that. And where this comes from, like I alluded to before, is most people after my courses think I'm the worst medic ever, because my stories start out with, I screwed this up.
Hey. And
my first trip to Sturgis, of course I'm going to ride there. I've got to ride there. I can't trail it. It was beat into me. I had to ride there.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what I didn't know. And by the time I got to Wyoming, I'd stopped at a drugstore 3 times to get things like sunscreen, to get things like Benadryl, to get things like Tylenol. And I'm thinking to myself, I am in this industry. This is literally what I do for a living. I am smarter than this. Why did I not prepare better? And I just took notes the whole damn time. My 3rd time at the drugstore, I bought a little notebook. I started writing down all this stuff I was screwing up. And I was like, all right, how do we make this affordable and the right size for a saddlebag so other people don't have to deal with it?
Well, I mean, everything you just said, I can 100% relate to. I've had to run around like a chicken with my head cut off, trying to find somebody that had Benadryl with them, because a club brother wanted to take a swig out of his beer and there was a bee in it and it caught him in the throat and he was allergic, and it was like, oh shit, now what the hell do we do? But I mean, well, I appreciate guys like you. You're trying to help better the community. That is, motorcycle riders. We're kind of our own little niche in the world, because, it's a special skill set, well, I guess, where should people go to find you, man? Where should we find you at?
Well, the biggest one would be bmkventures.com.
Mm-hmm.
You can hit the link in there. There's actually a link. We'll have it running here later, but for the M1RA course, bdell at bmkventures.com. You can email me. Just be prepared. And I just want to get this out there. Most people are a little taken aback when they get a hold of me, because I ask a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe in off-the-shelf solutions.
Sure.
When I was in service, I got so pissed off with so many of these company guys, these used car salesmen coming in, and when I left the service towards the end of my career, I mean, my job was to take care of the boys and make sure we had the right gear and the right equipment and procedures. And I'd reached a point in my career where I felt pretty confident in what I knew. When I have some guy, basically a used car salesman, coming in and telling me, well, this is what you need. Get out of here. You bother me, kid. No, I'm sorry.
You see a lot. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, you see a lot of that on the biker Facebook pages. That'll get it. Some guy will get on there. How should I jet my car? What jet should I put it in? Well, I don't know. What's your muffler on there? You know, what do you? I need to know a lot more than, you know, to tell you what jets to put in your goddamn carburetor.
Yeah. So bottom line is, I don't believe in an off-the-shelf solution. Now, enough people have asked me for what's your minimum, what's your, you know, deluxe, and I've got some ready-made solutions, but I'd rather tailor those solutions to the individual riders. I mean, hell, you got a club with 30 folks. Why don't we make you a standardized kit that fits about this big? It's in every saddlebag, is in the saddlebag of every bike riding on your ride. Now you spread load that equipment. It doesn't take up a lot of room, and everybody knows that if you reach in and find the little bitty tube that Blair made, you know, or what it will, hell, we'll put your freaking patch and colors on it, whatever you want. I don't care what it means, just as long as it gets in that damn saddlebag. And everybody knows it's the same damn thing. Maybe that's the solution, standardizing it amongst the club.
Yeah.
Come to Wisconsin this coming summer, and I'm sure we'll get a lot of people to come and see you.
Yeah. I mean, threaten me with a good time to get out there and see folks in a
strip poker run. It is all right.
No. You want people to pay attention. They don't pay attention on the strip poker run.
No. He wants to have fun. Well, leading up.
Oh yeah. Come on.
Beforehand, and then we have fun. He talks about
what better anatomy class than a stripper club?
There you go.
We can make that happen.
We could. We have ins.
No people. But yeah, fucking. Hey, you know, first of all, I want to thank you for your service to this country and to this community. You're inspirational, and I hope everybody that hears my voice checks out your company. I know I'm going to be talking to the people that we talk to in our little circles about trying to get you involved and trying to figure out a way that we can somehow be better prepared. You know, I mean, everything which you said. I mean, listen, I've got enough patches on my back that are little memorial patches for guys that have died because of accidents or whatever. And I'm sick and tired of going to funerals. That's just the bottom line. Yeah. So if somebody like you can help me out, hey man, that's awesome.
Right on.
So, yeah. All about it. Well, and that's really what it's all about. And when we're doing our other course, some of our other courses, that's our motto, is keeping names off the wall. So
yep. Yeah, I hear you, man.
Yeah, at the end of the day, anything you guys could link me in with, I'd appreciate. I'd be humbled by the opportunity. I'd love to hear from your viewers, you know, good, bad, or indifferent. Jesus, if I don't have thick skin at this point in my life, I got no business with a pulse. So I'd love to hear it either way. And honestly, I just appreciate the opportunity to meet you guys, get a chance to talk, and tie into the community a lot more.
Right on.
By no means the end-all expert in anything. But at the end of the day, there's a few things I do pretty well, and I'd like to make sure to leverage it for other folks.
Well, I'd like to get you back on the show again here.
At some point
in time, so we can do a little follow-up on this as well.
Love it.
Definitely.
Hopefully with some really good news about some things working well.
Yeah, definitely. So we're gonna wrap this up, brother.
Yeah, I mean, he's a busy man. He's already been gracious enough with his time. Yeah, like I said, man, thank you for your service. Thank you for everything that you're doing right now. I don't want to take up any more of your time. So I hope we can make things happen with this little thing that we're doing here.
I appreciate it. And y'all, thanks for having me on. Y'all have a good one.
You too, man.
Yeah, we'll hang out when we end this here. We'll hang out. We'll wrap for a little.
Cheers.
So I think we already knew that, but I don't know. What a dumbass. That's all right. Dirty. He's the face for it. You know, I'm the dumbass. You know, so it's kind of how it works. He's there shaking.
As my wife tells me, I have a face for radio and a voice for silent movies.
That's me, man. That's me right there. You know, we've been, sort of Forrest Gumping our way into this whole podcast deal anyway.
You guys have been kicking ass with it, by the way.
Yeah, I understand you're a fan of the show.
I have been, yeah. Even a little bit before he reached out. That's why I was so stunned when he reached out. I was like, are you shitting me? I was just watching your guys' first show the other day.
Oh, wow. Sorry.
Actually, that first show really set the pace real well for you guys.
Yeah.
Are we off air now?
No.
No.
Why? Who are we talking shit about?
We'll say
I like that guy anyways.
Yeah, hold on. So thanks a lot for coming on. We really, really do appreciate it. I can't believe that we're actually having this conversation here in 2021, almost 2022, and it's like it's a new concept. I mean,
yeah,
it's just, it's amazing, so I'm glad there's people like you out there. So let's wrap up here, and everybody keep in mind, like, comment, make sure you subscribe, send our shit around. Wouldn't kill you.
Share the fuck out of this video.
Please, if you share anyone, share this one.
Share this one. The rest of them are crap. Don't even listen to them.
And remember, everybody, the most dangerous part in your motorcycle is the nut that connects the seat to the handlebars. Peace.
Nice.
1, 2, 3, 4.